Hi guys, you didn't expect to see me again so soon, did you? I have just watched a fantastic movie that I wanted to talk about, so I thought I would quickly do a video while it was still fresh in my mind. Much like my previous video, I'm afraid all of my editing equipment and microphones and things like that is still packed away. So apologies for the low sound quality. That will get better once we've moved. But I've just watched an absolutely cracking film called Weapons, and I wanted to talk about it because it got me very excited. And I would say this is one of the best movies that I've seen so far that's been made in the 2020s. It's up there with the likes of Mad Max Furiosa for me. And I watched this on digital streaming, but it's still on at the cinema. And I should imagine that if you're in a very good cinema with a very respectful audience, this would be a terrific experience. But I was completely blown away by this movie, and it's restored my faith in new films. For a while now, I've been kind of thinking that we've been completely overwhelmed with like superhero movies, and new decent films are very thin on the ground. But this has really got my hopes up because it's such a well-made and well-constructed movie that has very little that you could nitpick. So I wanted to quickly talk about it. Now, the thing is, this was directed... Somebody's pipping their horn outside. This was directed by a chap called Zach Cregger, I think his name is. And he did the movie he did before this was called Barbarian. And that was a movie that I've not seen. So when I saw that Weapons was going to be made available on digital streaming, I thought, well, what I'll do is I will find a copy of Barbarian and watch that first. So I'm going to just very quickly talk about Barbarian. And for both of these movies, I'm not going to give any spoilers. So for any of you that haven't seen either of these films, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you because they both have very, very good, I don't want to say plot twists, but things happen in both of these movies that really surprise you. And I don't want to ruin that experience. But Barbarian, which was the film that Zach Cregger, I think his name is, did in 2022, is about a woman who rents an Airbnb because she's got a job interview in that area. And she arrives there in the middle of the night and it's pouring with rain. And when she gets there, she sees that there's already somebody in the Airbnb, and it's the actor Bill Skarsgård, who we all remember as being a fantastic Pennywise the Clown in the latest It movies. And so it very much puts you on edge for the first sort of 40 minutes of the movie, because you are sort of looking at the film through the eyes of the protagonist, which is this young lady. And quite rightly, she's very suspicious of Bill Skarsgård being in this Airbnb. And he's being as friendly and as delightful as you would expect a stranger to be in those circumstances. He's inviting her in because it's raining. He even helps get a suitcase out of the car, and he's doing everything to try and put her at ease. But understandably, she's being very, very cautious. And it has a terrific sense of dread in the atmosphere of that movie, in that you kind of know that you're watching a horror film and you're waiting for something to happen. And it really pulls at those tension strings for the first sort of 40 minutes. And it really puts you on edge. And there's very few jump scares and there's no gore in those first 40 minutes. And it gets to the point that I was finding it almost unbearable to watch, because I was just waiting for something to happen. And when it does happen, it's very surprising. It's very exciting. And then the movie sort of changes track and starts concentrating on a different character. And eventually all of these narrative threads come together and build to a climax at the end of the movie. And that's Barbarian. Very enjoyable. I really liked it. And then I thought, right, we will watch Weapons, because I really like Barbarian. And Weapons is a very similar kind of idea in that it introduces characters through chapters, much like Quentin Tarantino did in Pulp Fiction back in the 90s. And the basic premise, and this isn't a spoiler because this is sort of told to you within the opening moments of the movie, that there is this particular school in America, and the movie brazenly says that this is based on a true story, which I think is artistic license. But 17 children go missing from a class one night, and at 2:17 a.m. on this particular night, these 17 children, and they're all of kind of primary school age, they all leave their house and run off into the darkness, striking a certain pose where they hold their arms out, and it all looks very eerie. And these 17 children all do this at the same time, and they all leave their house and run off into the darkness, and they have various sort of CCTV and doorbell camera footage of these children doing this. And that's the kind of hook of the movie, is why did this happen? Where did these children go? What compelled them to do this all at exactly the same time? And we're introduced to various characters through, I think it's about 5 different chapters that play out. And it's very cleverly constructed because each chapter feeds you a little bit more information as to what on earth is going on with these kids. And there's little bits of overlap between chapters as well. So an event will happen, and then as we get to the end of the next chapter, we'll see that event, but from the other character's perspective, if that makes sense. So it's very, very clever, very well constructed. And the main characters is an actress, I think her name is Julia Garner. She's not an actress I'm familiar with, but I've read that she plays the female Silver Surfer in the new Fantastic Four movie, which at the time of me recording this video I haven't seen, but it's certainly one that I will check out once it does get a digital release. And she plays a teacher, and she's the teacher of the class that all go missing apart from one boy. So when she arrives to teach her class the following morning after this happens, there's only one student sat in the classroom. So obviously the police question this little boy to try and get some idea from him what may have happened, if it's something all these children planned. And all the questions that they ask him, this little boy is just saying, I don't know anything. They didn't speak to me. I don't know what's happening. So they're at a sort of dead end. And the local community start to kind of victimize Julia Garner's character because she's the teacher. So they assume that she's in on whatever's happened, because it's all very strange how all of these children disappeared from her class. And one of the other main characters is the fantastic Josh Brolin, who's an actor that I've always liked ever since The Goonies back in 1985. And it's been very interesting watching his career. And within, say, the last 10 or 15 years, he's really hit his stride as an actor. And he's kind of the same age as me, so I have that sort of connection with him, that it's nice that he's kind of really come into his own sort of later in his acting career. But he plays the father of one of the kids that's gone missing. And he's very frustrated with the lack of potential momentum that the police have as they're trying to investigate this mystery. So he takes it upon himself to do his own investigation and to try and work out what happened. And another character that comes into play in one of the chapters is, now I can never say his name properly, but it's the guy that played Han Solo in the Solo Star Wars movie. I'm not going to say his name because undoubtedly I'll say it wrong, but he plays a policeman. Just a simple kind of street cop. And he gets embroiled in the mystery at a certain point. So as the chapters play out, we're given more and more info into what has happened with these kids. And you get to a point in the movie where it then shows you in no uncertain terms what this mystery is and what's happening. And that's the point where the movie could be make or break, that you could either watch it and think, oh, this is getting ridiculous, or you could be completely swept up by it. And I was. And the actress Amy Madigan, who in real life is married to the actor Ed Harris, and I've seen her in a few films, but whenever I see Amy Madigan, whenever I think of her, I always remember that she played the wife of Kevin Costner's character in Field of Dreams back in 1989, and she was really good in that movie. Well, she plays a character in this that's very, should we say, kooky, quirky. And I honestly think that she deserves an Oscar nomination for this movie, because her performance of this character in this film is very captivating. And I can't say much more than that without going into spoiler territory. But it all builds to a climax that I found incredibly satisfying and exciting, to the point that I was almost falling off my chair because I was so swept up by it that I was getting more and more, oh God, I can see where this is going to go. This is fantastic. And for a horror film, I found the ending to be satisfying. And it's not it is gory. There is some gore in this movie, but it's not as gory, I thought, as the previous movie that Zach Cregger did, Barbarian. And there isn't as much dread, I would say, in this movie. But it's still a better movie. It's just a well-made, well-written, very well-constructed film that's superbly acted. It has some great sequences in it. Very well filmed. I don't know who the cinematographer is in this movie, but it's just looks lovely. I can't wait to get this on 4K. It's going to be a day one buy for me, guys, when it comes out. But yes, it's really restored my faith in 21st century movies. And I'm trying to think what other recent films I've seen that have really made me think it feels like we're on the up now, that things are starting to get better with film, and we're slightly moving away from superhero movies, and we're starting to get good original films being released, and this is one of them. It's probably one of my favourite movies this year. Well, it is. It's probably my favourite film this year so far, which is high praise indeed, but that's how much I liked it. So I just wanted to do this quick video to ramble on about it, and just encourage you that if you've not seen Weapons, to either go and see it at the cinema, because as I say, it's still on, or catch it on digital streaming. And I believe it's going to get a physical release in October, which makes sense because they'll try and get it out there for the Halloween period. And yeah, it's going to be a day one buy for me. I thought it was fantastic. And apparently the director, because I immediately looked up to see what his next project will be, and he has taken it on himself to do a new Resident Evil movie, which is interesting because Resident Evil has quite a long history in film, and most of them were done by the director, I think his name's Paul Anderson, the British director, who has a very sketchy track record. I think the only movie that he's most successful was Event Horizon, and he did the very first Mortal Kombat movie back in the mid-90s. That's sort of a guilty pleasure for me. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see what Zach does with the new Resident Evil film, so I'll make sure to keep that on my radar in the next couple of years for when that comes out. So yeah, Weapons, fantastic. I give it an A+. Definitely catch it if you've not seen it. So there we go. I thought I'd do this now because if I left it until after we moved, I'd have to re-watch the movie to kind of get psyched up about it again. But as I say, I was just completely bowled over by it. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that little unexpected video from me. And again, I'm saying you'll next see me once we've moved, but if you can put up with the low sound quality and just the kind of amateurish way I'm doing these videos at the moment, then maybe I'll do another one before we move. So take care of yourselves, guys. Have a nice weekend, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye for now.